when it comes to today, energy crisis at the very top, food crises, cost of living. 2 years out, though, the experts are still expecting that the cost of living is going to be the #1 risk on the global agenda. 10 years out, especially in the top 10, 6 of the top 10 global risks are dominated by climate and environmental related risks and risks that are associated with that. So for example, large-scale involuntary migration makes it into the top 10 as well, in fact the top 5 over the longer term. So that's how things play out, which means if we come back to today, leaders are facing multiple crises that are happening at the same time, so essentially polycrisis. And what that leads to in terms of the sort of overall optimism or pessimism about the state of the world, when we asked leaders what they're expecting to happen, well over 80% are expecting that we're looking at consistent, ongoing crises that are compounding each other, an increasingly volatile trajectory, although 10 years out, we're looking at that number going down to about 50%. So still a fairly negative outlook, even a decade out. So that's how things play out overall. And perhaps one more implication of that, we're looking at a situation where things are eerily familiar to some extent, a lot of older risks that have come back to the fore, things that if we think back to the beginning of this decade, we were trying to be on a trajectory to solve, dealing with hunger, dealing with energy crises. These were things that the world was trying to move towards and help solve through the Sustainable Development Goals. Quite a different picture today with things like re-emerging health crises and food crises and energy crises and the cost of living. And at the same time, some newer risks layered on top of that, that certainly today's generation of leaders has not had to deal with recently. So widely speaking, inflation, widely speaking, a potential recession on the horizon, trade wars at a time where just up until 3 or 4 years ago, we were in a very different picture around trade. So this combination of geopolitical and economic risks, and then layered yet on top of that, climate risks that haven't been so front and center as they are today. We did look at climate mitigation risks in addition to the risk of not acting fast enough on adaptation, and both come out at the very top 10 over the next 10 years.
And I think 2 months before, we'd actually gone through a pandemic preparedness exercise, which, if I remember, the forum colleague who organized it said to me, no one listened to me then. It took a pandemic for people to listen to me now. But yeah, it's an excellent point. We're warning about these things. Is anyone actually paying attention?